Following ample rest, Edmonton welcomes the red-hot Dallas Stars to Rogers Place. Can the Orange and Blue build off the momentum from the Heritage Classic? We get you set for the Oilers and the Stars on the Oil Stream pregame show. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Oil Stream pregame show. Tom Gazzola with you. Matthew Iwanek holding things down back at our EST studios. And, of course, Matt Kassian will be joining us, our game analyst, a little bit later on in the show around 6 o'clock. If you want to join the conversation, please do. Hit us up at the text line, 780-218-9999. Or, of course, if you're watching on YouTube, get into that nasty chat. Get dirty in that nasty chat. I'm kidding. Within reason. Kids do listen and watch, so let's be good. Let's be respectful amongst ourselves as we get set for the 9th game of the season for the Edmonton Oilers. Edmonton 2-5-1 on the year. The Dallas Stars 6-1-1. And to discuss the Dallas Stars, we will talk to Saad Yousuf from The Athletic in Dallas, who will give us the scoop on a Stars team that's coming out of the gate super hot. They are smoking, beating the Calgary Flames last night at the Saddle Dome 4-3. They got outshot 47-30. Watching that game, though, especially in the first two periods, even though the Flames went for shot volume, it didn't seem like Calgary was getting a ton of grade A chances offensively. In the third, Calgary pressed. They got some opportunities. They made the game close, but ultimately Jake Ottinger and the Stars managed to hold the fort, walk away from the Saddle Dome with those 2 points. Okay. We will get to the question of the night as well, because we've got a big debut, let's call it, for a third-time Oiler. That's something that I don't believe has happened before. I think that Glenn Anderson was a two-time Oiler. I'm trying to remember, Marty Reasoner was a two-time Oiler. Peter Nedved was a two-time Oiler. If there's any guys I'm missing that had a couple of stints with the Oilers, please remind me, because I don't think this is something that this organization has done a ton of. And we get to see Sam Gagner break the mold with his third stint as a member of the Edmonton Oilers. I did have a chance to talk to Sam Gagner this morning. Great to catch up with him. Apparently, Tony Brar floated this out there in the Connor McDavid presser or scrum, saying that apparently Connor Brown had called Sam Gagner Papa Oiler. And I was like, hey, they're calling you Papa Oiler. What do you think of that? He kind of was like, I don't know. So we'll refrain from calling him that, but I had a great chat with him. He said his body has responded very well to the double hip surgery. He said that this is the best he's felt in a couple of years. And when he went down to Bakersfield, things were going well. 5 points in 3 games, a goal and 4 assists. Obviously, looking to prove that he can still play at the National Hockey League level, and he will get his chance tonight in Orange and Blue again. It just feels right. It just feels right. The family, super excited. His wife and his wife's family is from Edmonton. So, yeah, it's home for him. He's comfortable here, and it looks right that he's back in Orange and Blue. So, question of the night is this. On the cusp of beginning his third stint in Orange and Blue, where does Sam Gagner rank as an Edmonton Oiler? Matty Iwanek, I want to bring Iwanek in. Iwanek, if you're listening,
I'm here.
I mean, you've been around. Yeah, you're here. I know. If you've been around Sam Gagner, you've been covering this team all the way back to the early part of his career, his second stint when we were at 1260, and then now a third go-around for Sam. Like, what do you make of this coming home for Sam Gagner?
It's just a nice story for him, because he was the start of what would have been the first rebuild for all of these Edmonton Oilers, right? Like that, he was part of that first one with Robert Nilsson and Andrew Cogliano and what they were going to do. And that was supposed to be the start of all this. And he was a good Oiler for a number of years. And, I don't know, there's just something about him that connects with the Edmonton Oilers fans, I think. And to have him
Yep.
come back for a third one, like the second one was great. Having him make that return was awesome. I guess part of this is when he was left, when he got traded, that wasn't a situation where people were like, I got to get rid of Sam Gagner. This guy's useless. That we see with so many other players, like they're just ready to throw the baby away at the bathwater type thing. This was
Right.
one where people just loved Sam Gagner. When he went away, they were sad that a good Oiler was leaving. And to have him come back for a third time, I think what helps is, you mentioned his wife, he married a local girl.
Yep.
They've embraced this city, that's this, to want, I guess in the end, to want to come back to Edmonton yet again. That's almost just like, oh, thank you for in the winter. You want to be an Edmontonian still? Good on you. So it's, I'll always have memories of Sam as a great Oiler. I'm glad he's been able to be around the team that's supposed to be the better iteration of the Edmonton Oilers. And in the end, we all got that 8-point night. And that was just such a magical night that a lot of Oiler fans will love that they got to see an 8-point night by a player, and it ended up being Sam Gagner. So, no, it's great to see him for a third time. And, it's only right that no matter what happens from here, his career is going to end with the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah. I think he's going to be an Oiler for a long time, whether or not it is wearing a jersey on the ice or in the executive level. I think he's a guy, especially with Jeff Jackson around. Of course, Sam Gagner was Jeff Jackson's first client when he became an agent, or was part of Jeff Jackson's start as an agent, and Sam Gagner was there for him. So a lot of connections, unless something completely goes haywire. I think Sam Gagner is going to be around in orange and blue for a long time. Not always on the ice, but when his playing days are over, I think he'll be a part of the organization in some capacity for sure. So, question of the night: on the cusp of beginning his third stint in orange and blue, where does Sam Gagner rank as an Edmonton Oiler? Well said, Matthew Iwanek. I like that. I knew you'd be perfect to go to on your summary of Sam. All right, let's get to anticipated starting lineups tonight for the Oilers and the Stars. McDavid probably with Draisaitl and Fogle. Nugent Hopkins with Kane and Hyman. McLeod with Holloway and Brown. And then Gagner and Ryan should be your extra forwards. No Matthias Janmark. He's been ruled out by Jay Woodcroft, dealing with a shoulder issue. Still day to day. The team's not saying anything more than that at this point. On defense, Nurse with Ceci, Ekholm with Broberg, Kulak and Bouchard, with Desharnais as the 7. As for the Dallas Stars, here's what we're anticipating from them tonight. Roope Hintz with Jason Robertson and Joe Pavelski. That line has been excellent. They were solid last night again for the Stars. They've stuck together all season long. Pete DeBoer doesn't really get the blender out the way Jay Woodcroft does. But second line, Wyatt Johnston with Jamie Benn and Evgeny Dodonov. Matt Duchesne centering Mason Marchment and Tyler Seguin. And then you've got Sam Steele between Ty Dellandrea and Craig Smith. On defense for the Stars, Ryan Suter with Miro Heiskanen, Thomas Harley with Yanni Hakanpää, Esa Lindell with Nils Lundqvist. No Radek Faksa. He's day-to-day with an upper body issue. If there are any changes, of course, the Stars played last night at an optional morning skate. And we see anything different in the warm-up, we will pass that along your way. That brings us to starting goalies, brought to you by our good friends at, let's give it to Damon Bunting, Remax Elite. We'll give him a couple of segments tonight. Starting goalies, 25-year-old turned his 25th birthday was yesterday. Stuart Skinner, 1-2-1 on the year, 351 GAA, 863 save percentage in 5 games this season. 2-1 lifetime versus the Stars, 267 goals against average, 907 save percentage in 3 appearances versus Dallas. At the other end of the rink, we're anticipating 31-year-old Scott Wedgwood to get the nod in goal. He is 1-1 on the season with a 354 GAA, 889 save percentage in 2 games this season. Wedgwood versus the Oilers, 1-2-1 with a 325 goals against average, 913 save percentage in 4 games against Edmonton in his career. Before we get to Saad Yousuf from the Athletic Dallas, I'll throw out the question of the night one more time. If you're watching on YouTube, you can get into the nasty chat. Let us know your thoughts. And then if you're listening on our audio stream on your way to the game, the question of the night is this, and text us 780-218-9999. On the cusp of beginning his third stint in orange and blue, where does Sam Gagner rank as an Edmonton Oiler. And I don't expect him to be anywhere near the top, but he's a pretty damn good Oiler and has been a good soldier for a long time. All right, joining us now over the phone from the Athletic Dallas, Saad Yousuf, covering the Dallas Stars. And Saad, last night in Calgary, we saw Stars walk away with 2 points in that 4-3 win. Now, although the Flames peppered Jake Ottinger with 47 shots, watching that game, a lot of that first 40 minutes seemed to be Dallas in the Calgary zone, getting the better opportunities. How did you see that game play out?
Yeah, I think like you said, they got a lot of shots on them, and for Calgary fans and Stars fans, seeing Jake Ottinger against Calgary, that's not a new thing. That happened quite a bit last year in the playoffs as well, going back to 2022. But the Stars, for them, a lot of their objective is to limit the high danger opportunities against them, and they know that Jake Ottinger is someone who they can count on. And so for them, they've been trying to start out strong and start out better in games. That was a huge point of emphasis going into the game against Calgary, because they really had a lot of slow starts to begin the season. But they did come out a lot better. And even though the Flames got a lot of shots on Ottinger, there weren't a whole lot of dangerous scoring opportunities that the Stars were concerned about.
Through 8 games this season, the Stars have put together an impressive 6-1-1 record. What have been the key contributors to the hot start, Saad?
Well, first of all, it is Jake Ottinger. I mean, he's been really, really impressive, and so it begins with to me. It begins with him, and then after that, you kind of go down, and there's a lot of players. There's a handful of players who have had really good games and really good impact, but it doesn't necessarily show that way on the score sheet. And the top guy in that regard is Matt Duchene, who I believe has 1 goal and a couple of assists. But his impact has been a lot greater than that. He's been really good. He's helped stabilize a complete line for the Stars with him, Tyler Seguin, and Mason Marchment. But, it's a lot of the usual suspects as well. Roope Hintz is off to a thunderous start. He's really good. Jamie Benn is actually leading the team along with Roope Hintz in points this season. So his whole resurgence last year was clearly not a fluke, as he's picked up right where he's left off. In the first few games, Wyatt Johnston was the best forward on the Stars. Jason Robertson is getting his groove going. So, it's a lot for guys from everywhere. And I also, one name that I have to also call out is Thomas Harley, who, is a young defenseman the Stars have a lot of high hopes for. And he came on well in the playoffs last year and late in the regular season. But he's taken a huge step. And if the Stars can get somebody else on the back end that can play a high end of hockey behind Miro Heiskanen, they can be really good in the back end as well.
Saad, you had a chance to sit down with Matt Duchene, broke down a shift with him, kind of got into his mindset when he's out there on the ice. How is he amalgamated into this group here in Dallas?
He's been really impressive. And I think there's a lot of players who, will get frustrated if the production doesn't follow the kind of game that they're playing. But he seemed to have avoided that mostly. First 4 games, he didn't score a single point, but he was playing good hockey. And, after that, the last few games, his production has really started to pick up as well. And it's starting to show on the score sheet. I would say that he was probably the best player he was definitely the best player on the ice against the Blue Jackets on Monday for the Stars. And he was one of the better players again against the Flames. And so, just to sit down with him, pick his brain on, what he kind of is looking for. One thing that I really came away from that chat was how much he is really always looking to facilitate. And so he's looking to get others involved. And I think that bodes really well for the role that the Stars want him to play as a guy who's on a line with Tyler Seguin and Mason Marchment.
So speaking of the lines, and I like the fact that we can segue into this, because here in Edmonton, we see Jay Woodcroft switching up his lines almost daily. I know there's been a bunch of injuries that have kind of led to that, but he gets the blender out really quickly. Pete DeBoer seems like he's the opposite of that and believes in consistency. What trios have really found their groove together this season? How many times has DeBoer gotten the blender out this young year?
Yeah, that's a great point. It's actually, as you called, that's the story I'm writing, is about how patient DeBoer has been with his line changes. So, last week was a time where he really got out the blender. The entire last week, he was working through 2 or 3 different lineup combinations. Of course, Robertson, Hintz, Pavelski at the top always stays the same. But then beneath them, those 3 lines did go through a blender last week. And then after the Stars lost to the Maple Leafs 4-1 for their first regulation loss of the season last Friday, or I believe it was last Thursday, and DeBoer this week kind of, completely went back to what the lines were in training camp. He went back to, Robertson and Pavelski at the top, and then Marchment, Duchesne, and Sagan second line, and Ben Johnston, Dadonov on the fourth line, or third line, and then the fourth line being Dellandrea, Foxa, and Craig Smith. And so, they've all kind of stood out in different ways, but I would say that the Duchesne line has really impressed a lot, because Mason Marchment is playing really well right now, and he had a very slow start to the season. We already talked about Duchesne, and Tyler Sagan has been pretty consistent as well. So that's the trio that's really stood out right now, and it came after, DeBoer uncharacteristically did get out the blender, but kind of went back to, his usual patient self.
Saad Yousuf from the Athletic Dallas joining us now as we get set for the Oilers and the Stars just after 7 p.m. here in Edmonton, and keeping on target with the lines thing. Saad, the Stars top line, like you said, it's been pretty consistent, has stayed that way for the majority and pretty much all season long. 22 points in 8 games for that trio. What makes Robertson, Hintz, and Pavelski such an effective line?
Well, it's because they supplement each other so well. And this is a line that really came together in March of 2021. So they're going on their 4th season together as a trio. And so, they have a lot of games together. They have a lot of consistency. And then, they just, like I said, they play off of each other very well. And if you ask me, and it's the age-old question whenever there is, I'm sure you guys, people talk about Draisaitl and McDavid and, who gets how much credit, all that kind of stuff. And when you talk about this trio, for me, it all begins with Roope Hintz. He is a top 10 centerman in the world. He is so good. He's the Stars' best overall forward. I think Jason Robertson is the best scorer on the team, but I think Roope Hintz is pretty easily the top forward on this team. And then Joe Pavelski is just so smart. He knows exactly where to go. He knows exactly where to be. And so they all play off of each other. Excuse me. They all play off of each other very well. And Roope Hintz, I think, makes it all work. And so with him in the middle, defensively, offensively, they, like I said, they just kind of, Roope Hintz knows when to distribute, when he can take the puck and just fly with it. And Joe Pavelski is always in the perfect spot at the right time. And most of the time, that spot is right in front of the net. So that's something he's made a career out of doing. And Roope Hintz and Robertson kind of feed off of that as well.
Pavelski was 7 points this year, 3 goals, 4 assists, -2, but take that how you will. Is he slowing down? How does he look out there? He seems like an ageless wonder. I think he's getting close to 20 seasons in the National Hockey League. What have you observed from him, Saad, as you watch him this early season?
Yeah, it's just crazy. He just never changes. It's not just his production and how he plays. It's his routine as well. I mean, every morning skate, he's the first one on the ice. He brings 2 or 3 players with him. Usually it's a forward, Ty Dellandrea, and sometimes Jamie Benn. He has a couple of defensemen, Joel Hanley and Nils Lundqvist at the blue line. They're shooting pucks. He's tipping them in the net. This is the same routine for 25 minutes before morning skate begins every single game, and whether it's on the road, at home, whatever the case may be. And so, there's just so much consistency in his game. And, I always tell people this because, I did a Pavelski feature about a year or so ago, and I talked to Brent Burns in San Jose. And, when I asked Brent Burns how Joe Pavelski has been able to maintain his play for so long, Burns just kind of smiled and said, you can't lose a step if you never had one. And, with Pavelski, he's been a player that's never really been a super fast skater, had this crazy shot or anything like that. And so because of that, he's just able to continue on his game the way he's kind of always played it. And, it's a game that ages very gracefully.
Mm-hmm. Incredible to see, especially a guy born in the mid 80s myself. Good to see Joe Pavelski still going strong. I appreciate that for sure. Saad Yousuf from the Athletic Dallas joining us now here on the Oil Stream pregame show as we get set for the Oilers and Stars. So last night we saw Jake Ottinger in goal, high volume of shots, but Ottinger obviously withstood the task and was good. Tonight we expect to see Scott Wedgwood between the pipes. If that is the case, and I'm sure it's pretty likely it will be Wedgwood, how has he looked in his two appearances this season, and how has the goaltending been as a whole? I think you touched on it a little bit. Ottinger's been great.
Yeah, and Scott Wedgwood has been good too. It's just with Wedgwood, if you're a team playing against Wedgwood, he's gonna be solid for most of the night, but you're always going to get a few windows here or there of opportunity to score, and that's something that you don't usually get with Ottinger. That's the biggest difference between those two, is that Wedgwood for 70%, 80% of the game will be on point, in position, all that stuff. And then there will be a few moments in the game where, he's going to make a very strange decision, maybe puck handling, or he's going to overcommit to one side of the net, and it's going to just leave a completely gaping net on the other side. And it's all about, taking advantage of those opportunities if you're the opposition. Because if you don't take advantage of those few opportunities where it's painfully obvious that, the Stars have a void or it's their backup goaltender net, if you don't take advantage of that there, he's really solid for the rest of the night. And so that's kind of what it's been like for Wedgwood really since he's been in Dallas. He's a very good number two goaltender. He plays the system that the Stars play very well. The Stars have a strong defense in front of him most of the time. And so, he just tries to play off of them. And if you don't catch him on the, like I said, 2, 3, 4 times a game where he's slipping a little bit, if you don't catch him in those, he's not really a goaltender that you can, beat down and work to a point where you're going to wear him out because, like I said, for 80% of the game, he's pretty much starter material.
This Stars team is putting together a nice little run here. There's been a stretch of some pretty good seasons in Dallas. It's been a team that's been fairly consistent over the last handful of years. Saad, what's the expectation for the club this year within the group, and what's your sense of that?
Oh, I mean, it's Stanley. It's the Stanley Cup. I mean, there's no other way to put it. They were in the Western Conference Finals, Game 6 last year. They come into this season as a better team after signing Matt Duchene in the off season. Thomas Harley, like I said, took the next step. Niels Lundqvist has been better this year. There's no question that anything less than a Stanley Cup appearance at the minimum would be a disappointment for this team. And really, they have their eyes set on winning the cup. And, it's all going to come down to how healthy they can stay and, how the goaltending kind of holds up in the playoffs. Because Ottinger last year was dealing with a pretty significant injury that required surgery in the offseason during the playoffs. So as long as they're healthy, and especially at the goaltending position, the expectation is for a deep run in the playoffs.
Hasn't been the start the Oilers wanted, but one of their captains, Leon Draisaitl, did mention the term Stanley Cup or bust. We'll see if they can pick things up after a 2-5-1 start. Having said that, with how good the Stars are playing, how rough it's been for the Oilers, although they did win on Sunday in a big Heritage Classic, what's your expectation for the type of game we're going to be watching tonight?
Well, I mean, it's always fun because, when you play against the Oilers, any team plays against the Oilers, that there's a couple of players who can really change the game on their own. And for me, as someone who follows the Stars and, follows these players, like the most intriguing matchup to me is always against Connor McDavid, because we talked about Roope Hintz and how good he is on both ends of the ice. For him to match up with somebody like McDavid, it always makes for a really fascinating matchup. And then the Stars also have who I believe is probably a top 3 to 5 defensive defenseman in the NHL in Miro Heiskanen, really top 3 or 5 complete defensemen with the offensive growth that he's shown as well. But for both of those guys, Hintz and Heiskanen in particular, to go against McDavid and Draisaitl, that's always the matchup. That's always for me what is really interesting when these two teams play each other.
We'll see how things go tonight. First of 3 meetings between the Oilers and Stars. Saad, great stuff. Thank you for doing this. Look forward to chatting with you again soon.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks for having me, guys.
That is Saad Yousuf from The Athletic covering the Dallas Stars. Great stuff from him. A good taste of what we should expect tonight from Dallas as the Oilers get set to take them on, looking for a second consecutive win. Into the nasty chat we go. This one from one. When I asked the question of the night, I'll throw it out there again. The question of the night is this. On the cusp of beginning his third stint in orange and blue, where does Sam Gagner rank as an Edmonton Oiler? And one texts in and he says, oh boy, this is a bit facetious. Number 1, Klima. Number 2, Nielsen. Number 3, Lowe. Number 4, Smith. I don't see Gagner on that list. VR Montenegro texts in via the nasty chat, says, Goyle, indeed. Sam gets 9 tonight. Could you imagine with Paul Coffey in the house? Paul Coffey was one of those who got 8. This one from YouTube, Trev says, the boys are crushing it. Drop a like. Thank you, YouTube, Trev. Have fun at the game tonight, pal. He's got the day off. D Cards says, Sam is in the top 100 for sure. That's it? That's it, D Cards? You wouldn't go higher than that for Sam Gagner? This one from Big U, who texts in via the inbox, says, I'm sure it's been said, Tommy, but with the Stars being 3 games and 4 nights and back-to-back with the backup starter going tonight, they have to take advantage, start real hot, need to get going quick, make them want to get on their plane in the intermission. We'll see if the Oilers can do that, Big U. They haven't really done that very often this season. They did it in Nashville, and then they put together a nice game against the Flames at the Heritage Classic. Outside of that, a lot of stinkers and some meh games in there, for a lack of a better term. The Wolf. Oh, all right. The Wolf chiming in via the inbox, 780-218-9999. The Wolf says, throwing on the signed Gagner jersey, boys. That's from the Wolf. I think you will be among many when it comes to Sam Gagner and those old 89 jerseys, which are new once again. Matthew Wannick, you have something that you wanted to get in there or no?
I'm actually just working getting Cass on. But I will say this. I have been pretty good with the Oilers this year of not panicking or anything, not believing there's a reason to panic. Tonight could be a night where I change my tune on that, because
really,
if they can't string together yet another game where they can't string a win after a win, like they can't string anything along. You get the win on Sunday. You can't get 2-3 wins in a row this season to this point of the season. To me, that's a real concern that they're not going to figure it out this season. You know, the American Thanksgiving thing is something we always talk about. We're only a few weeks away from that right now. If they go out tonight and the only way I could handle a loss tonight for this club will be if it's a very good game where we're sitting there saying, you know, the Stars maybe got an extra bounce, or the Oilers played this incredible game, and the Stars they're a really good hockey team. You have to give sometimes other teams credit. They just played that game and just got past the Oilers. Outside of that, if they come again after having 3 days off as well and lose another one, I will have real concerns about whether this team will be able to figure it out this year and turn it around.
Well, it was interesting. I was at the morning skate. They turned it into an optional. You would think that after having those days off, like you mentioned, it would be a practice that everyone would have to be a part of, but they changed their minds at the last second. 8 skaters, both goalies, Stu Skinner working in the starter's net, Jack Campbell down at the backup net, and it was very quick, it was very efficient, and they were off and running. So it was interesting that they went that route. And to get his opinion, we'll bring in our game analyst, Matt Kassian. Matty, I'm sure you heard what Iwanek had to say there in terms of panic mode, in terms of the perception of having a skate where not enough guys. Well, Cass has to run up there. There he is. Cass is good to go. Cass, you can still hear me now.
I can still hear you. I was trying to get the thing closed, and then I realized that I had the craft box out because I needed to fix a toy with a hot glue gun earlier. And I apologize. I'm sounding raspy. The cesspools children that I live with brought home something fun. So
great.
If I sound like I ate a bag full of gravel, I did.
Delicious.
Yeah, I don't freak out about pregame skates, Tommy and Maddie, like in having mandatory pregame skates. And I know there were days off in between, but the science, we want to talk about following the science all the time. The science would say that doing too much in a pregame skate reduces your ability for your nervous system and your muscles to fire. Like it
Mm-hmm.
technically it drains you and you don't fully recover by the time the game starts. Now, some guys just really like the feeling of a pregame skate. They really like where it puts them mentally, and so it's a part of their routine, and therefore they do it. But I don't buy into that. They should have had, because they've had a couple days off, they should have had a full mandatory pregame skate. I mean, I kind of go to, well, what did you do the day or two before to prepare yourself for this? And if your objective as a team, and I think it should be to come out against a Dallas team that played yesterday, that had travel, and to come out with all the energy you can, yeah, give the guys an optional. If they needed a pregame skate, that's what was going to make them ready. Take it. If not, that's fine. Get your
Mm-hmm.
rest, get yourself mentally prepared. But the funny thing is with it is that depending on how the outcome of the game goes and depending on what happens, maybe we'll be singing a different story after and say, well, maybe they should have taken that pregame skate. But overall, I lean more towards the optional for pregames. I just ultimately, to me, it makes more sense.
Yeah. As I was leaving the rink and shooting the rink report, there was the Stars on the ice, and surprisingly, they had quite a few guys on the ice for their
It's because they're
optional
old.
morning skate.
It's because
Well,
they're
they
old,
are old.
Tommy. That's why. It's because it's
Well,
like that old school mentality. Like all the old guys, they're an ancient team for the most part. I think they're the second oldest, or they might be the oldest team in the league. So yeah, it's just that old habit
yeah,
because it was for so long. Pregame skates were always mandatory. I mean, that's really just the last couple of years that
yeah.
they become more and more optional.
Jamie Benn was out there. I'm pretty sure I saw Joe Pavelski out there working on his tips as he does, as Saad Yousuf was saying. The routine is consistent, that's for sure. So yeah, interesting. We'll see. Different mindset works differently for different players at different points in their life and their careers. So we'll see how that goes tonight, Cass. All right, time now to get into Game Changers, brought to you as always by our good friend Damon Bunting at Remax Elite. Damon Bunting, consistent top producing realtor in Greater Edmonton, and of course among the top realtors in Edmonton in the Remax world. He and his team would love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. Community driven. Damon understands what it takes to make a difference in our city. Check him out on damonbunting.com or visit his Instagram page at Damon Bunting Real Estate. All right, Game Changers number one, Cass, create the doubt. What do you mean? Unmute yourself.
Didn't want you to listen to me sniffling and
Classic.
coughing. This one comes straight to us from our good friend Joaquin Gage in the Two Guys and a Goalie podcast. And in my defense, I was going to have one that was very similar to this anyways, but I just took what he said. I'm like, let's keep it consistent.
Sure.
But for me, I think you really have to head into this game. And we touched on a little bit already. You're playing a Dallas team that won a game yesterday and then had to travel. They've won a lot. They got 3 games in 4 nights here. You want to be able to give them every reason you can early in this hockey game to say, we're good. We've won a lot. We've got a really good record. If we lose this one, we can still be happy with the result overall on this road trip and overall how we've done. Now, when I watched that game yesterday, the Dallas-Calgary game, and my observation was I thought Calgary overall was a better team. Now they were hot out of the gate. They pressed really hard. However, Dallas and the greasy old veterans, they find a way to turn the tide a little bit in the second period and get some momentum and start to generate. And before you know it, for the most of the second period, Calgary was back on their heels, and then Dallas kind of went into hold on mode where, if not for Ottinger, Calgary probably should have won that game. A lot of opportunities, young rookie Connor Zary playing in his first NHL game got stopped by Ottinger with a great pad save that would have tied it up. So you have a team, I think, here in Dallas that's going to look at this and go, yeah, we won a game. We won a game in this road trip. Back-to-back nights. If we don't win, we're okay. At least that's what you want them to think. And if you want them to think that for the Edmonton Oilers, you're not getting Ottinger in net today. Not that Wedgwood has been very, very good thus far this season as well. But I think you have the opportunity at the start of this hockey game to create a lot of doubt in the Dallas Stars mindset for the rest of the game. Get them thinking forward to the weekend. Get them thinking about how tomorrow's an off day. They're not going to be, not going to be playing a game, and I think you have that chance. I think the longer you let Dallas hang around in this one, the more dangerous they're going to become. Because to me, it's like if you score 2 goals, if you get up 2 goals, and you get up 2 goals early, you might give them a reason to pack it in a little bit.
The Stars come in having won their last 2. They are 3-0-1 on the road so far this season. But like Cass said, playing on back-to-back nights. Calgary, a lot of shot volume, 47 pucks peppered Jake Ottinger's way. But the Stars did get that old veteran greasy road win, and the Oilers will look to jump out early. And as Cass said, number 1 on Game Changers, create the doubt. All right, number 2, Cass, for tonight's game, quick to pressure. I like this one.
I love this one, Tommy. It's something they did against Calgary in the Heritage Classic that they hadn't really done all year. Even in that win against Nashville, where they were better than they had been. The Calgary game was the first game where they were tenacious on pucks. Forechecking. They were tenacious on pucks in the neutral zone. It was like they went into those 50-50 battles with the intention of winning it. Not like, I kind of hope this happens, of going like, no, I'm going to win this battle. No, I'm going to get here. I'm going to break this play up. I'm going to get involved in this, and I'm going to make a difference. And that aggression is something that is or I would say has been characteristic of when the Oilers are playing well, going back to last season, because we haven't seen it up until this last game. When they were on, they were hounding pucks. They were using their speed. They were a fast team. But when they're not, they're slow to get in on the forecheck. They're slow to pressure. They just kind of let the other team do whatever they want, break out easily. Yep. And I think a telltale sign here for us early in this one is going to be, well, how are they when they're forechecking? Is it just kind of ho-hum? How hard are they when there's a scrum in the neutral zone and a battle right at the red line? What type of pressure are we going to see the Edmonton Oilers put on the Dallas Stars? Because I think the Dallas Stars are a team that's a very good defensive team. They don't give up a lot. And if you're going to want to generate, you will have to create turnovers. You will have to create opportunities. And you're going to do that by being, I think, very, very aggressive and tenacious. And that's something, Tommy, that I absolutely am looking for tonight.
All right, so number 1 on Game Changers was create the doubt. Number 2 was quick to pressure. We're about to get to number 3, but Cass, I wanted to do an offshoot of number 2, and it has to go back to that game in the Heritage Classic where you and I discussed that there were some texts coming in, 780-218-9999, or via the nasty chat, saying, hey, there's rumblings that the Oilers are going to go back to their old system, and they're going to change it back to man-on-man as opposed to zone. Then you and I were like, did we really see anything different? You said no. I didn't really notice anything different. It just seemed like they were executing well. And then I'm perusing the Oilers media news world yesterday, and I come across Justin Bourne's article that he wrote on Sportsnet, and it was an analysis of the systems that the Oilers have been running. And he did it in conjunction with Andrew Brewer, who was an assistant coach with the Toronto Maple Leafs, also spent time winning gold medal at the Olympics with Hockey Canada, and has worked for the Panthers and among other organizations, and started his own hockey business development company called Fast Model Technologies. And it was just a breakdown of numerous clips from the Heritage Classic where he described, Cass, that the Oilers were still playing the zone, but they were executing it properly. And then he contrasted it with clips from the week prior, a lot of them from the Minnesota game, shocking, where he was like, here's a breakdown, the fatal flaw, guys not passing off their guy. So it's a system that makes you think more, but in essence, it's better suited for the Oilers than the man-on-man where you can get caught chasing. And that happened.
The Oilers aren't a man-on-man team. And the NHL is not a man-on-man league. There are very few teams that have the caliber of players that you need to play man-on-man from top to bottom. because your defenseman in particular, like you got to be man-to-man is so much more difficult to play. And basically nobody ever plays it anymore. Vancouver tried to play it last year with Bruce Boudreau, and we all saw how that happened. I don't think, Tommy, I didn't see that article, but it doesn't surprise me one bit because I've been saying that from the start is like, and even last game, like I said, I don't think they changed anything. And I don't think the system has been the issue. The system has not been the issue. It will not, it will continue to not be the issue. The issue is the execution. The issue is the players actually going out and being able to execute, to not make those just absolute brain dead mistakes, and to actually do what they need to do.
All right. Thank you. Yes. Because people were saying, hey, did they switch to man-on-man? No, they did not. They stuck with the zone. They just executed, as Cass and I alluded to last pre and post game, and then just now. And Cass, I got you fired up there.
Well, because it's gotten annoying, Tom, because everyone's like, the system. And I'm like, it's not the system. It hasn't been the system. Don't blame this system. Yeah, your line rush against is not the system. Like when you have guys skating, back checking into the corner. That's not a systems issue. That's a player issue.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's again. I told you, all the sickness and all the Advil, cold and sinus, whatever is going straight to my head. Yeah, the adrenaline's running now.
780-218-9999. Any cold recommendations out there for Cass that are like surefire so that he's good to go for the post game and that he could take care of? Do you have all three girls or just one?
Just one right now. So the two of them are swimming and I got the other one. So we're okay.
All right. Cold remedies, old ones, new ones. You let us know via the nasty chat as well. All right. It is Game Changers brought to you by Damon Bunting Remax Elite. Number 1 was Create the Doubt. Number 2 was Quick to Pressure. Then we had an offshoot of that, and we talked about the systems play. Number 3 tonight, Cass, power play puck movement.
Yeah, the Dallas Stars have an extremely good penalty kill. Now, it slipped, I think, to third after that game against Calgary. It was second heading into that game. But they pressure. They pressure. Yep. Watching that game against Calgary yesterday, Calgary really struggled at times to execute because it was the second that they made a mistake, Dallas was all over them. Very, very good at ensuring when the puck was on their stick that it was out of the zone. Not a lot of second chances given. Like Dallas hounds you on the penalty kill. They hound you on the penalty kill. Now, they only have one shorthanded goal. It's not like they're a shorthanded threat type of team, but they are a team that will typically do a very, very good job on the PK. And for the Edmonton Oilers, I think a big test for tonight is having your power play that's been pretty good. Like it hasn't been as dominant as it was last year, but it's still been pretty good, as of course it will be. There's just too many weapons. But you're going to have to execute again today. And I think for me, having clean puck movement is going to be a big part of that, because the way that you beat pressure is you execute and you move the puck quickly. I mean, the age-old hockey cliche that everyone uses and will continue to use is the puck moves faster than the man, which is so true, because it does. When you pass it, it goes faster typically than a player is skating. And against a penalty kill that really likes to pressure, and they do pressure, again, the second there's a bobble, Dallas pressures. And they have the defensemen that really enable them to do that. Again, they'll try to close off in the corner quite quickly, especially again if there's any kind of a bobble. But the way you beat it is having clean puck movement. So try to move the puck across the top. If you are able to switch the puck side to side, that's going to force them to move, and you can start to hopefully expose some of that pressure that Dallas likes to bring. So to me, again, in a game where you're playing a really good team in the Dallas Stars, you want your special teams to be the difference. And Dallas is going to do everything they can to not let that be the case, because they are a good penalty kill team. They're not like, I don't think they're going to be just trying to take unnecessary penalties against Edmonton. But I think if you can have some success in the power play, you can open them up a little bit. And if you can get up 1, get up 2, again, you're going to force them 5-on-5 to maybe not play so conservatively. And again, the way I think you beat it is with that quick, efficient puck movement on the power play.
Stars penalty kill heading into action tonight, 3rd in the NHL, like Cass alluded to, 92.6%. They do have that one shorthanded goal like Maddie was talking about. Their power play, 2 for 23, 8.7%. That's 31st in the National Hockey League. To me, that's surprising considering the weapons, the plethora of weapons that this Stars team possesses. How alarming is that, Cass, given all the talent that this Stars team has offensively?
Well, I'm going to say not alarming at all at this point because they keep winning hockey games. Now, if they had lost a whole bunch of games, you kind of go, okay, well, this is a big issue. But for me right now, when I look at it, I go, they still only have one regulation loss on the season.
Right.
They're a really, really good team, and they've been winning their games by scoring 5-on-5 and by scoring by committee. I do not doubt that guys like Robertson, who maybe haven't he's still got a bunch of points, but it's not like he's been scoring at his regular clip. I do not doubt that at some point it's going to start to click. And at some point that percentage will start to come up. So it's just like I would say, even all the three top penalty kills in the league, those probably aren't going to stay as high. Like the Stars penalty kill, probably not going to stay well over 90%. We'll start to come back down a little bit, even if it remains one of the best in the league. On the flip side, I think their power play will improve a whole bunch as well, where it hasn't been working. But you hope for the Edmonton Oilers' sake that tonight isn't the night that it clicks, because it is, as you said, they have a whole bunch of weapons. If they were losing a whole bunch of games, I'd say this is a huge, huge issue, but they have time to sort it out because they put themselves in a position from a standings standpoint where they've continued to win games. And that's been because of their penalty kill and their 5-on-5 play.
All right. I said send in your recommendations to get Cass up and running for the post-game show. He's got a bit of a cold right now, but he's hanging in there tough, as he usually does. One from South Sask, Jason, says, Cass, have a tablespoon of honey mixed in a shot of rum. Good to go. Trust me, I'm a pharmacist. That's from South Sask, Jason. I love that. I like this one from Stu. Stu says, Cass needs a hot toddy, whiskey, lemon, and honey. The honey keeps coming up.
The honey keeps coming up. I think that's an ancient cold remedy, though. Actually, supposed to really help. The lemon juice probably helps. I don't know if the whiskey or the rum actually do, but
numbs the
but
pain,
the other
dude.
stuff would. Yeah, someone messaged in and said something about ephedrine, and I don't think you can just go buy that anymore. But I remember when they started to outlaw it, and back in Minnesota when I think it was just actually my first training camp, and Wes Waltz I think went and filled up the whole back of his truck with as much ephedrine as he could get, because he's like, they're taking it off the shelves. I need to get me my ephedrine. So
that stuff was wild, man. A couple of those, and you were just like buzzing.
You were wired, yeah. And that's Wes Waltz to a T when he was playing.
Wow. This one comes in and says, I agree with Matt. They have to figure things out today. Otherwise, concern will set in. I hope the Heritage Classic performance can be sustained. Excited for Sam Gagner debut. Followed him since his earlier years. And then Stu also stacked up his text, sent in another one, said, what is your favorite Sam Gagner memory from over the years? Oil win 4-1. Let's go. Cass, I'll start with myself. The 8-point night was amazing. No denying that. But I have a couple of memories of him and the things he does against the Calgary Flames. One was when he fought Olli Jokinen off of faceoff. I believe it was Olli Jokinen. And I was very impressed because Olli Jokinen was a big dude. And Sam Gagner is smaller than me. Like, it's good for Sam. And then the other one was, do you remember that crazy battle at the Saddle Dome where we saw Smith versus Talbot? I don't know how anyone can forget that. But all the fights broke out. Kachuk versus Bear. Sam kind of started that by digging in at Talbot.
Yep.
So I kind of look at those. Do you have any little moments that stand out to you?
Well, I mean, I played against him a bunch, right? And skated with him in the summers and that. So the memories for me are a little bit different. I would say in recent memory, it probably would be just starting the whole brawl, because that was awesome.
Yes.
But a lot of some people realize, a lot of people don't realize he's a greasy little player.
Yeah,
like he's got a little bit of an edge to him when he plays. Like, it's not, and because he's not big, it maybe gets a little bit understated in that. Yeah, he's a guy who will stick you behind the play, and you don't always see it on TV. You don't always, it's not like analysts are talking about it. It's not like coaches are talking about it, and it's not something that's out there. But it's like, he plays it. Actually a pretty gritty little game, which has actually served him well for his ability in some cases to, as he's got older, gone from the top six type of player to being a guy that's generally playing in the bottom six. It's actually served him quite well, because it's like, well, he's not just one dimensional. And maybe early on, a lot of people or a lot of people have, that image in their head of him scoring the 8 points and being this offensive player, which he was, but it's like, no, he's got a little nasty to his game as well, which is awesome. And I love it. I mean, just a great guy, great family. I love Gag. So I'm excited to see him play. I think he's going to get a great reception. It's going to be pretty fun. So yeah, I'm happy he's here and going to get an opportunity. And I think from a leadership standpoint, having a guy that maybe has a little bit of that edge to his game. Again, it's not like it's massive. It's not the only thing he does, but having a little bit of that in his game is great. And having a guy that in that dressing room is unafraid, regardless of how many minutes he's playing, to speak his mind. I don't doubt that Gags will do that and bring that. And I think that's a valuable thing, especially for where this team is at, trying to turn a corner here. I think, it's a good decision to bring him up.
Cass, well said as always. I'm going to get a couple of recommendations for you via the nasty chat now because I was going to the inbox. If you want to join the conversation, 780-218-9999. Jason in Leduc, what's up, Jason? Leduc says, it's D Cards. What's up, D Cards? Couple Sudafed. He'll be fine. I like Sudafed. I think it works generally.
Yeah,
Gavin
Sudi and espresso. That was my old pregame when you're not feeling it. I was like, if you're headed into a game for me, and it was just like, I'm probably gonna have to fight this guy, and I don't feel like doing anything. Like I just want to kind of go play a hockey game and don't have to worry about this, but I need to pick myself up a little bit. Yeah, Sudi and the double espresso.
Sudafed, man. That stuff just opened you right up.
Yeah.
You could skate like the wind. Davin says, I had COVID last week. Just keep drinking water. I hope you're doing well, Davin. COVID's still kicking around, whatever variant's going on now. But Cass, I think you're going to keep hydrated. You're very smart and meticulous when it comes to the hydration factor, and you understand the science of colds and flu symptoms. So I think you're going to be good there. Ryan, I think you alluded to this one, the ephedrine, which he says is much better than mixing caffeine and Benadryl. Well, Cass, I think you just gave away your secret of the ephedrine that is in Sudafed with the espresso, which is a good mix. Ryan says, isn't whiskey for rubbing on the gums for kids? I don't think you want to give kids whiskey.
Yeah, I don't know about that anymore. Oh, and we should say a huge disclaimer. We're not doctors, and seek your own medical advice. So
no, I'm just going into the recommendations people have made for Cass to get over.
And they're probably all not doctors. So for anybody listening,
do not
consult with your physician.
Yeah. Jason and Leduc did recommend Advil, colon sinus. Enough said. So this is hilarious. Okay. Cass, great stuff as always. Do you want to just tell us what kind of game you're expecting tonight?
I'll tell you what game I'm hoping for. I am hoping the Edmonton Oilers come flying out the gate. Now, I don't think it's going to be a 60-minute of dominance because Dallas is a good hockey team. And they're going to, even if, as I think you want to, create all that doubt early on and score the first goal or first two goals, Dallas isn't a team that's just going to disappear and go away. They're a good 5-on-5 team, a really good hockey club. So what I would hope for is to see a full 60-minute effort for the Oilers, regardless of the outcome. Because the reality is this is a game, and maybe the first one of the year, where you could play well and you could lose, and that's okay. It's okay. I'm not just staring at the 2 points, although that's kind of the big thing, I guess. But what I'm hoping for from the Edmonton Oilers is that they carry the gravity that they felt, or the inertia rather that they felt coming out of that Calgary game, and they can carry it right into tonight. I want to see them hot out of the gate.
I like that. I respect that very much. And let's see if that team in orange and blue can carry through with that tonight. Cass, go rest up the voice. Great work tonight. And look forward to catching up with you for a segment on the post-game show. Let's keep it nice, sweet, and short.
We'll be good. Yeah, we'll be good. Yeah.
All right, Cass. Good stuff. That's Game Changers with our game analyst, Matt Kassian. Of course, Game Changers, as always, brought to you by Damon Bunting Remax Elite. If you're looking to get into the market, looking to buy a home, looking to sell a home, Damon is your guy. I know him well, and he gets it, and he'll make sure he makes your goals come to fruition for sure. So check him out, DamonBunting.com, or just visit him at his Instagram page. Everything's on Instagram. Damon Bunting Real Estate. Absolutely tremendous to have Damon on board for the pre and post game show this season. And like I said, if you're looking to get into the market, buying or selling, check out DamonBuntingRealEstate.com. All right. I think it's a good opportunity here to get into some pregame audio and video. We're going to start off with the coach's room. Let's hear from head coach Jay Woodcroft, if we've got that, Matty Owanek.
Talking about, it felt like that was the Oilers playing like the Oilers the other night at the Heritage Classic. Great night, obviously. How do you feel about the preparation over the last couple of days going into this game tonight to make sure that that type of play and that type of feeling carries over?
Yeah, we had 2 good days of practice. We're able to address some things in our game that we want to see continued improvement, and the fellas did a good job, but ultimately we'll answer that question tonight.
Maybe just a thought on Dallas. They played last night in Calgary. Just how good an opponent they are and the challenges they bring.
Well, you look at their lineup. I think they're well balanced up front. You know, they're strong at every position. You know, they're one of the preeminent teams here in the Western Conference and have been for a while. They're always a tough opponent, well coached, and we're going to have to bring our A game tonight. This is a different animal coming into our building here.
Morning, Jay.
Good morning.
Speaking of the Dallas Stars, how about Miro Heiskanen and just his evolution as a defenseman? Obviously goes up against Connor McDavid, but his ability to play both ends of the ice.
Yeah, I mean, he plays huge minutes too. So I think, you know, as a coach on the other side, you want to make sure those minutes are hard minutes if he's going to play that amount. I think he gets up and down the rink very nicely, defends well. You know, he's obviously their number one back there, so he's a good player. You know, and I think those 3 guys came out of that same draft, right? Like one at every position in the goaltender, Ottinger, and then, you know, on defense, Heiskanen, and then Robertson as well. They represent the younger portion of their core. You know, we're going to have to be ready. Like I said, they got a lot of good players.
In talking to your players this week, a lot of them said that Warren Fogle has such a heavy shot. Do you feel like at times it's maybe underutilized and you encourage him to shoot the puck a little bit more?
Yes, I encourage all of our players to shoot the puck because a lot of times, and I think this goes, you know, not talked about enough, is that sometimes it's not about, you know, maybe picking that little small corner. It's about what your shot creates for other people and how it puts teams in trouble or in the soup. You know, they usually when a shot's taken, you have to turn, sort things out, and it leads you not being into position. So having a shot first mentality is important to us. For Warren, it's heavy. It's hard. We've talked, as I mentioned yesterday, a lot about hitting the net with that first chance and then making sure we're following it up to score in the dirty areas.
So you talk about shots. Some teams are shot volume. LA, you've played them twice in the playoffs. They shoot all over the place. So do you look at a team like that and say, yeah, but the shots are coming from outside the face-off dot, so it's not that big a deal?
Well, I think what you do is you try and understand the way the other team wants the game to be played. I would use Calgary in the last few years has been a heavy shot volume team. You understand that. You don't get fooled by the shot clock. I think there's things you can do to mitigate or control teams that want to play like that. But in the end, different teams try and find different ways to win games, have different identities and different personnel. You know, some teams believe in that philosophy.
No Janmark again. Is he more than day-to-day?
No Janmark today. He's not playing in tonight's game. That's probably as comfortable as I would go here and saying until we get a little bit further medical information.
Thank you.
Jay, Sam Gagner hasn't played in a while, an NHL game in a while. He's obviously had a chance to play in Bakersfield, but with 11 forwards, what challenges does that kind of prevent for a coach bringing in a player that hasn't?
Well, Sam's here to help. Sam's here to give that bottom six a little bit different flavor to its complexion. Sam, before he got hurt last year, was a part of a Winnipeg team that got off to a really good start. He was moved all around the lineup. He's someone who is a veteran hockey player. He's going to be able to think his way around the rink. And as a coach and for our coaching staff, we just want him to be himself, bring what he brings to the table.
What is Sam Gagner at his best for you, like with this team?
Yeah, I think he's hockey intelligence. I think he does have a unique skill set. I think he's got a good shot. He gets sticks on pucks. He finds himself in hard areas to score. But I think as some of our younger players in that bottom six, he's also a resource to talk the game with. And as I said, we've had not a lot of production from that part of our lineup. And for us to move to where we want to move to, we need some production. So it's Sam's turn for a shot.
Jay, it's super early, and it's maybe one of the least of your worries based on the history of it. But your power play the last few years obviously been unreal at 29%. It's at 24, which for most teams would be great. The shot volume, though, is down significantly. You've led the league the last few years by quite a large margin, the amount of shots you get on the power play. It's down. What are you seeing there, and what will allow to get the shot volume back up?
Well, mindset, number one. Number two, I think making sure that we are taking advantage of the power plays that we do get. A big thing for us on our power play is when the power play finds success. Does it find success when you're up 5-2 for a sixth goal? Or does it find success early in a game when you're able to get on top of a team, or when the game's on the line at 2-2? Those are things that we spend a lot of time talking about, making sure that it rises to the occasion that presents itself. A couple of those games, and in those games we had a few power plays. The head of our snake wasn't there. Key component of that power play. Now, that doesn't excuse, I think we were 1 for 7 with him out. That doesn't excuse not performing, because we have a lot of really good hockey players that can go out there. But for us, I think our power play is no different than every other part of our game. There's room for improvement.
Going to your penalty kill,
Yep.
It looked actually really good against Calgary, and literally 1 second, because the one power play, it was expired at the exact time that the goal was scored, and the other one was with second and Nugent Hopkins. And that's like the difference of being 78 and 72%.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that's the third time this year we've given up a goal with 1 second left on the clock. So for me, that's where the eye test is just as important as reading a spreadsheet. And, we're aware of that. We also gave one up where a player was passing a puck. It went off our knee and into the net. I think those things kind of even out over time. But for us, focusing on what led to some of the good things there in the outdoor game is going to be a continued focus for us. And, one thing I didn't say when you were talking about our power play, we're going against a really, really effective penalty kill tonight. And a power play on Dallas's side that can ice some pretty dangerous players. So special teams rising to the occasion is going to be an important point for us tonight.
You noticed, obviously teams try to take Connor away with the drop pass to Connor, but are teams trying to stop the seam pass to Leon? Now it's almost like the goalie's expecting, okay, that's going to Leon, I'm getting across. And there was one chance earlier where the goalie, got faked right out of the net and gave up a goal.
Yeah, I think that was against Winnipeg. Yeah.
Winnipeg. So are you noticing that? Is Leon, he's a smart player. He obviously has to move around a little bit more than like to shoot from the hash marks.
Yeah, and I think and part of what makes our power play as effective as it's been over the last while has been making sure that all 5 people are a threat. It's understanding the way penalty kills would like to play you. And each team represents a different problem or a different challenge for our power play because they do some things differently or they might play us a little bit differently. That's all part of preparing yourself to take what is given. In the end, it doesn't matter for us who scores the goal or where they score that goal from. As I said earlier, it's about scoring the big goal and making sure that we're reading what a penalty kill is giving us, making sure that everybody's dangerous, and finding a solution to the problem that penalty kills presented.
Jay, does an opposing team's record even mean anything to you at this point in the proceedings?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Because your record tells a big part of your season story. Not the whole part, but a big part. What I see in the Dallas Stars is a team finding ways to win games. That commands respect and that commands attention. And the Dallas Stars have both our respect and our attention. Thank you.
As they should at 6-1-1, coming off a 4-3 victory at the Saddledome yesterday in Calgary. The Oilers, meanwhile, big 5-2 win at the Heritage Classic on Sunday, a couple of extra days of rest, a couple of full practice days, and then today the optional morning skate. We'll see how the Oilers power play goes up against the Dallas Stars penalty kill. A Dallas Stars penalty kill that has been excellent thus far this season, ranking third in the National Hockey League at 92.6%. And they've added a shorty. The Stars power play, not great so far. 2 for 23, 8.7%. That's 31st in the National Hockey League. While the Oilers on the power play still pretty darn good in the top 10, 24.1%. That's its ninth as of right now, 7 for 29. You heard Jay Woodcroft talking about not having Connor McDavid, the power play going 1 for 7. Now they have McDavid back. So we'll see the powerhouse power play against this powerhouse penalty kill. Which side wins the battle tonight? If you're wondering about the Oilers PK, 27th in the NHL at a not great 72.7%. In school, that would have been a great test mark and a great average in any subject for me. But when it's the penalty kill in the National Hockey League and you're sub 80%, you're asking for trouble. You can text us 780-218-9999 if you're listening to our audio stream. And if you're watching on YouTube via the EST channel, you can hit us up on the nasty chat. Ryan Corky says he still can't believe that Cass is not related to Zach. For years, I thought they were brothers, or at least like Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly. Were they best friends? No. Were they cordial? Yes. But no relation between Zach and Matt Kassian. All right, let's go back into the Oilers locker room, and we will hear from Connor McDavid.
Put back-to-backs together now, hey, and just establishing some level of consistency. What's the pathway to that, you think?
Just following it up. Obviously, it was an exciting win outdoors. Battle of Alberta is a good way to get yourself back into the win column. But you got to follow it up, like I said. Like you said, we haven't had a good start, and got to start stringing them together.
What did you like about that game that you guys can build
on? I thought we just looked a little faster. I thought everybody skated well. I thought the work was there, tracking back. Felt like we didn't spend too much time in our D zone, and that's always a good sign for our group.
You guys scored some goals, I guess, if we considered ugly or mucky, like throwing a puck to the net, going to the net. I guess is that kind of what helps to kind of get things going? Is you got to score those simple goals sometimes.
Yeah, scoring some goals is a recipe for success, and obviously we threw a lot of pucks at the net. We put some bodies there, and we're rewarded with some bounces, and I feel like we hadn't had those. Kind of all year, so it was good to see those go in.
What's the value of having like Saad Yousuf around?
Obviously just his veteran presence. He's a guy that been around a long time. He's seen a lot of things in this league, and just a calming presence to have around.
I don't know if you saw a month ago, Connor Brown on his Instagram story called him Papa Oiler. Is that an appropriate nickname?
It seems that way. It's his third time around. I know all the staff love him. Obviously, I've been his teammate before. He's a great teammate. So I'm happy to see him back and healthy and playing in the NHL.
Speaking of Connor Brown, everyone said that it was going to take him a while to kind of get going because he missed an entire year with the knee injury. Is that what's happening here right now?
Yeah, I think you can see really good signs in his game. He's getting chances, he's generating chances. Just that timing. It's always the last piece that kind of falls back into place. You can get your body feeling good. You can do everything you can to feel good out there, but that timing is it just takes a little bit of repetition to get that back, and I think you're starting to see that.
You guys saw firsthand last year with Evander and the injury he took, how skate blades and cuts and stuff can be. What? You want to grab that, Tommy? Oh, sorry, Avery. You guys saw that firsthand, the way that can go, and obviously a really, really tough incident in the game here this last week. There's lots of discussions about neck protectors and cut protection and such. As a player who plays the game at a high speed, just maybe your thoughts on if the game is maybe moving in that direction.
Well, first and foremost, we're thinking about Adam's family, and all of his loved ones, and such a tragic incident. But the game is so fast out there. The game is unpredictable at times, and no matter how smart or well prepared or how many years you've been playing the game, random things happen, and we obviously saw it last year with Evander. I mean, these cuts are really scary. I think you're seeing a lot of cut-proof gear come into play. Whether or not you see something around the neck, I don't know. But really scary. But I know after Evander's incident, talking to our medical staff, and they're prepared to handle just about every situation on the ice. And we put a lot of faith in those guys and know that they can handle just about anything.
Those injuries are rare, obviously, but they can be catastrophic. Is it more of a comfort thing for a lot of guys that it's just bulky and cumbersome to have extra equipment on? Do you think?
In terms of the neck guard, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, and even wrists and ankle, Achilles.
Yeah, I mean, obviously comfort is important. But it's also comfortable to know that you're protected. That can bring a big comfort to guys. I think it's personal preference for everybody. I see lots of guys stuff. I have see some guys who don't wear much at all. It's all choice. With that being said, I think, like I said, it's a really fast game. These things happen, but I know that our staff and everybody is well equipped to handle pretty much all situations.
All right, that was Connor McDavid, obviously discussing player safety, and when we saw the incident last week, absolutely horrific with Adam Johnson, who tragically passed away after being cut in the neck with a skate. It's comfort's a big thing, but it's also comfortable to know you're safe, and we'll see. It sounds like, there's recommendations that players in the National Hockey League wear neck guards. We're going to see the WHL implement neck guards. That came out, I believe, within the last 24 hours, that ruling or that rule, I should say. And hopefully it does save some lives, because that was absolutely tragic and awful and all of those things. And our heart goes out to the Johnson family, certainly, and the hockey world mourns. So there's Connor McDavid discussing the return of Sam Gagner and his team looking to win for a second straight game. Let's go around the National Hockey League. We will get to Pete DeBoer briefly, the Dallas Stars coach, but it is a busy night in the National Hockey League. 12 games on the SCAD right now. Late in the second period, Tampa leads Columbus 2-1. In Detroit, Florida's up 1-0 on the Wings. That one in the second intermission. Through 1-1 between the Hurricanes and the Rangers. In Ottawa tonight, LA Kings leading the Sens 3-0 late in the second. Also in the second period, midway through, Washington trails the Islanders 3-0. Boston up 2-0 on Toronto 5 minutes into the second period. Other scores to pass along your way. New Jersey up 2-0 on Minnesota in the first intermission. We've got the Oilers and the Stars. And then later tonight, we've also got the Habs at Mullet Arena in Arizona, in Tempe to be exact. And then Nashville visits Seattle. Winnipeg's in Vegas. Vancouver is in San Jose. And then another thing to pass along your way in terms of the National Hockey League, Charlie McAvoy, it looks like, is planning on appealing his 4-game suspension because of the awful hit on Oliver Ekman-Larsson of the Florida Panthers. So the 4-game suspension apparently will be appealed by Charlie McAvoy. What'd you think of that, Matty Owanek? If you're kicking around there.
No, Sorry, I was having to put my mic back on there. What was that again?
My bad.
No, that's all good.
Just the Charlie McAvoy appealing the 4-game suspension from his hit on Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I thought it was just a brutal hit, stupid play.
Well, I guess it's one of those things where if you have, like, you're going to lose money. Now, I know we could say that all these guys have all this money in the world and you're going to miss hockey games, but if you have the right to appeal, why wouldn't you try to lower it? Like, that's the one thing is, what's the harm is a player in just accepting any punishment the NHL is going to dole out to you? Like, if it's a 1 game, okay, whatever, you're going to miss a game, it's going to be hard to just get rid of 1. If it's 4, you might sit there and be like, okay, could I get this down to 2? And that's where I'm not going to say anything about the hit. I'm not going to disagree with anything about the hit or anything like that you've just said. But it's like when you get a photo radar ticket. We know we sped, but if you could go to court and knock it down by half price, you're going to go to court and try to knock it down by half price if you can't. That is what I just see from here is he has the ability as a PM member to go appeal this. Why not try to go from 4 games to 3, 2, 1, whatever it might be? That means extra money in his pocket, and that means he gets to play an extra game or not. And worst case, the NHL says, no, we're giving you 4. And okay, you're still sitting out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that's rational. I understand that. I don't think he's going to win the appeal, but we'll see what happens. Gary Bettman did uphold the Rasmus Anderson 4-game suspension, which he also appealed.
And he deserved that one. And then, obviously, I think part of that situation was trying to get him to the Heritage Classic and play in that game. But there's an avenue that was open for him. They took a shot. Nothing came of it. So I would expect kind of the same here from the National Hockey League. But if you're Charlie McAvoy, why not?
Yep. The worst they can do is say no, and you lose the money that you were anticipating losing. So good point. Good point. Let's go to the nasty chat really quick before we go to Pete DeBoer. Amber wants to know, Tommy, can you explain what coaches mean by a heavy shot as opposed to a hard shot? What's the difference? Heavy shots, the way I think of it, and listen, this could be different for many people out there that follow the game, but heavy, I always interpret those shots as ones that hurt. Hard shots are the more quick ones that goalies tend to not worry about, but they'll be like, wow, that guy shoots it so quick. A heavy shot, usually a slapper. Some guys can have a heavy wrist shot, but generally I think of those shots and go, all right, those ones have a little bit of a boom to them, and the impact is slightly more than a hard shot. And listen, those guys all shoot pretty darn hard. Outside of Ryan Smith, who didn't have a great shot, but heavy shot, generally I think of painful, hard shot, quick, speedy. And, I think we're splitting hairs between heavy and hard shot because most guys who can shoot hard have a heavy shot. But I think generally that for me is the interpretation. Amber, thank you for the question. Appreciate that very, very much. All right, Awanek, let's hear a bit from Pete DeBoer from today.
I'm actually kind of more curious about that flag behind us. A little less for a lot more. Who kind of came up with that, and what exactly does it mean?
That's a team thing. I'm not going to get into it.
Okay, that's great.
You probably shouldn't even be looking at that.
I'm sorry, it just happened to be there. Pete, just going up against the Edmonton Oilers and the challenges that they kind of bring, especially with 97 and 29.
Yeah, maybe the most dynamic group in the league. Always a challenge. Always a tough building to play in. We know this is one of the teams at the end of the day that's going to be standing in the Western Conference, and someone's going to have to go through. I think that's a given, despite the start. And I think you've got a little bit of a wounded animal that played really well in their last game, and looks like they're coming out the other side of it. And that's a dangerous opponent for us on a back-to-back.
Do you find that going up against Connor McDavid brings out the best out of Heiskanen's game?
I think it brings the best out of your entire team because you really have to defend Connor with 5 guys. It's not as simple as one guy shutting him down. Everybody on the ice has to know when you're on the ice against them. Everybody has to have awareness. Everybody has to work as a group to shut him down. And then you just cross your fingers. He's going to get his points, but, you hope you can outscore them and try and limit his chances.
Did you like your game last night? They came out pretty hard.
Yeah, I like parts of it. Again, I'm not. I've said this before. We're 8 games into the season. I'm not sure there's a coach out there that likes their game right now. This is there's a long road here in front of us. I think there's pieces of our game that I like that are coming. Some pieces we're still working to clean up, obviously, and I'm sure Woody's saying the same thing on the other end. I do know we're finding ways to win games, which is the important part while you're working through that process.
One of those areas, I'm guessing, is your power play, Peter. What are you not seeing on your power play so far?
Just not sticking it in the net. We've had a little bit of execution, early season execution issues. We've had a little bit of our 5-on-5 game bleed into our power play where we're not getting to the interior enough. My concern level isn't high. This was an elite power play all year last year, and we have the same group back, so I have no doubt we're going to work our way out of it, and I already see real good signs of that coming. We could have had a couple last night.
You're in the second game of back-to-back. You're playing against a really well-rested team, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
What's the key to kind of keep your legs going?
Yeah. Well, we've got to survive kind of the first 10, 15 minutes here. Our starts haven't been great overall, really sporadic, and real emphasis on that tonight. We got to manage the puck and not beat ourselves in the first 10, 15 minutes because we know they're going to have good legs and be ready to go.
You mentioned it's only 8 games, Peter. You've been coaching a long time. At what point do you look and say, okay, I expect things to be at the level that I would like? Is it 15 games? Is there a number?
I don't know if there's a number. I mean, you look. Every year is different. I think Boston last year had it rolling right from day one. I think. If you looked at Vegas, they probably put it together the second half of the year more than early. The most important part, and there's 2 parts to this. You have to get in the playoffs to give yourself a chance, and you can lose that opportunity early in the season if you're not putting points in the bank. But then you want to be playing your best and be your healthiest going into the playoffs. That's the critical piece. So, would you like to go wire to wire with your A game? That's what we all focus on, but that's not realistic, and we're all working through that.
Peter, have you seen any drop off in Pavelski?
Not really. No. He's still his game. It's never been predicated on speed and skating. So, and you don't lose those cognitive hockey IQ skills at 40. Maybe at 55 like I am, but you don't at 40. So he's still one of our most valuable players almost every night.
There you go. There's cheery Pete DeBoer. Why wouldn't he be? His team's 6-1-1 heading into action tonight against the Oilers. Of course, the Stars winning last night in Calgary and have put together back-to-back wins. The Oilers looking to do that for the first time this season, following up on what was a very special night on Sunday at Commonwealth Stadium in the Heritage Classic. Will they get it done? We shall see. Skinner versus Wedgwood in goal. The return of Sam Gagner, third stint as an Oiler. Edmonton going 11-7. No Matthias Janmark. He is banged up with a shoulder issue. I'm going to get to one last text from the nasty chat from our pal Zedmo. Zedmo says, Heritage hangover for the first. Expect a chippy second. See you for the post game. Hope we're talking victory. Zedmo, that would be lovely. And with that, I say thank you for tuning in. Thank you for texting in. We appreciate you. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. And we will see you following the Oilers and the Stars right here on the Oil Stream. It will be the post-game show. Myself and Matt Kassian and Matthew Awanek. Enjoy the game, everyone. Ciao for now.